Hey there, it's Kara and Dave with today's Corona Story Time. I am so excited about this. This is hot off the press, When I Meet You by Olivia Newport. I am friends with Olivia Newport, and this is the third book in the Tree of Life series published by Barber Publishing. And I love these people, I love these characters, and each book has gotten better and better. And the fourth one comes out in November, but this one comes out Friday, but it's here now. So I'm gonna read a really good part of it for you. I already knew I was gonna read it before I even got the actual book, but here we go. The path was uneven, making it hard for Jillian to put her injured foot down with steady compression and disguise the urge to limp. Yet the panoramic invitation to ramble on a spring day evoked the sensation of being in a state park or historic preserve featuring a living history museum. If the walls in her office at home weren't covered with correspondence and financial records from an abandoned steamer trunk, she'd be tempted to let go of the mission that had brought her down here and the private property sign she'd urged Veronica past. They could soak up the sensations of a bygone era for a few minutes and be on their way to Veronica's estate sale. Uh-oh, Veronica said. I think we're busted. Astride a white horse, a man cantered toward them, pulling on the reins when he got close. Jillian blinked at the image. Against the scenic backdrop with ranch land and mountains behind him, he was like an illustration torn out of a book. On the cover, the handsome hero, dark hair with tangled curls clinging at the back of his neck, scruffy cheeks that suggested he hadn't bothered to shave that morning, and a bemused, dimpled smile taking form. Can I help you? A horse. An actual man on a horse. Well, it was a ranch. People still rode horses on ranches, apparently, even if there wasn't a cow in sight. Among all the questions swirling in Jillian's mind, though, she hadn't thought how she might answer the simple question. One, someone who lived or simply maybe worked on the land had a right to ask. The gate was open, Veronica's words came to the rescue as they looked up at him. I drove through it. It's so beautiful down here. I suppose we wanted to see more. His smile flashed. My eyes never get there, Phil. That's why I prefer a horse rather than my truck. I get the whole experience. Jillian recovered herself. This is your land? Not mine personally, he said, but it's family land, and right now I'm living in one of the houses. One of the houses, Veronica said. Jillian knew the answer but held her tongue. Listening, her father always said, was the best way of learning. What would this man tell her that she might not already know? He was young, not much older than she was, if at all. Living on family land, had he grown up here, he must know family stories. There are two, he said, the main house and the little red house, as we call them. I live in the little house. Well, we've been admiring the history and the buildings we've seen so far. Jillian shielded her eyes to get a better look at him. It was silly, but with that brilliant Colorado sunlight filling the day, he seemed to glow on that white horse. We do try to keep them from falling down around us, he said. We're both sort of history buffs, Veronica said. Two houses? There must be a story to that. Bless you, Veronica, bless your curiosity. One is original, he said. It predates 1910, though it's been added onto and fortified a few times, so the original footprint is hard to see from the outside. The other was built a few years later and has never been much more than a nice, cozy cabin. That's why I get to live there. I'd sleep in a covered wagon if that's what it took for me to be out here. Veronica and Jillian laughed. Well, we live in Canyon Mines, Veronica said. Do you know it? Only by name, haven't been there. It's a bit off the beaten path, even when I get to Denver. Part of why we love it, said Jillian. What brings you all the way down here, the man asked. Veronica ran a hair through her sophisticated hair, layered in a cut just to the shoulders. We didn't come strictly for trespassing purposes, I assure you. I buy small antiques for my shop. There's an estate sale not far from here. So you're just taking a drive first? Something like that, Jillian said. It's such different landscape than where we live. We couldn't resist. Well, I'm Drew Lawson. Jillian Parisi Duffy. Veronica O'Reilly. Well, come on then. I see no reason you can't have a look around as long as you're on good behavior. Well, that's very gracious. Drew Lawson. Jillian stored the name in her mind. Later, it would become a leaf on a genealogy tree, a starting point to work backward toward the name she'd found. He was walking and talking DNA. Maybe there was a hair in the hat box in the trunk, fibers trapped in a hairpin or under a feather. She was getting ahead of herself. She could hardly ask a stranger to let her swab his cheek. I'll tell you what, Drew said. I have to put the horse away, but if you want to see my place, I don't mind. For the cause of history. It's the little red house next to the curve in the creek bed. Jillian and Veronica looked at each other. Well, we'll go back for the car, Veronica said. We'll find it. Just don't poke around too much. Right, Jillian said. Private property. Not everyone as friendly as I am. Drew clicked his tongue and the horse went into motion. What do you suppose he meant by that? Jillian asked. I don't know, Veronica said, but I think we should respect the boundary. Let's just get in the car and find the little red house. So I have been hoping that Jillian would perhaps find a love interest, and I don't know, it sounds like maybe she does, or we'll have to see as we keep reading. So I highly recommend When I Meet You by Olivia Newport, and kind of something super cool. This book is dedicated to me, which I can't believe, and it's so special. So anyway, please support our authors, and you'll love this series and you'll love this book. Take care.